welcome to the Pick and Roll podcast. Today, I got a good one for you guys. So basically, this week, like usual, we'll be breaking down the full games. So the games that we're going to go ahead and break down this week is, the first one is Jonathan Magbo from USF, 6'8", small forward. Second game is Padcom Deidlit from Ulm, Germany, 6'8", and he's also, his teammate is Juan Nunez. He's a 6'3" point guard. We're gonna go ahead and break down that as well. The next game is gonna be Pepperdine versus Gonzaga. We're gonna break down Michael Jaye, 6'7", small forward. And the fourth game is gonna be Illinois versus Iowa, and the main guy we're looking from that game is Peyton Sanford, 6'7". And the last game is gonna be Grand Canyon versus UT Arlington. We're going to be breaking down Tyon Grant Foster in that game. So it's going to be a really great week. So I'll go ahead and kick it off with the first guy, which is USF's Jonathan Magbo. So Jonathan Magbo, 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan. That is official from the NBA Combine. He's averaged 14 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 63% field goal percentage, 0% three-point percentage, 1.6 steals, 0.8 blocks. So, Jonathan Magbo is a really good athlete, and it really translates to him being a good defender. He defends on ball well, very switchable, ideal wing size with a 7'2" length, defends very, very well. He has an average to NBA handle, but he can't shoot the three-point shot at all. The idea for a 6'8" guy is a 3-and-D guy, right? You want your 3-and-D wings, shoot the three, defend really well, and he can do one side of the floor, but he can't do the other, which is 0% three-point percentage, is very, very, very far away. Because of that reason, I have him rated very low on this big board. I have him as a 75 through 78 pick player. He doesn't have any shot creation to compensate for the fact that he just doesn't shoot threes that well. He plays out of position at USF, though. He plays like center or power forward, small ball center, I guess you could call it. And yeah, so this guy doesn't have the skill set that's needed for him to be a 3-and-D wing that he'd ideally fit with his defense and athletic gifts. And because of that, again, he is a 75 through 78 pick level talent. All right, so the next game to break down is the Ulm side of things. So it was Ulm versus Juventus, technically the game that I watched. And the main guy from that game is Padcom Deidlit, 6'8", small forward. 6'8" small forward, averaging 6.1 points per game, 2.3 rebounds, 0.7 assists, 51% field goal percentage, 35% three-point percentage, 0.5 steals, and 0.1 blocks. So, he's definitely a very good stand-still three-point shooter. I definitely call him an above-average, smoother side of things athlete. He's got a good. He's a good defender. He defends on ball really well. He uses his length well. He can attack the rim really well. Showed flashes that last game. He showed flashes this game as well, attacking the rim with the crossover. He blew my mind, though, because he flashed that crossover, and then he did a step-back three-point shot. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And then there was some fadeaway jump shots in the mid-range, and, he also flashed a Euro step in transition. It was really, really interesting, because what's really important to know here is seeing these flashes from somebody that looks so smooth doing it is really, really enticing. Because, Padcom Deidlit and the smooth small forwards and the smoothness of his handle and the smoothness of these moves leads to think that they're very, very good moves, right? And they look really smooth when he does it. And that definitely leads to the thought process that these are the kind of skill sets that they're going to grow over time and really develop into being an elite wing. And, somebody else that's in the similar context that we all have very high in the draft community is Zachary Richer, right? Where you won't see more than one or two really nice moves from Zachary Richer a game. Sometimes you might see zero, right? But you see it and it looks so smooth, and he looks so smooth with the ball in his hands, and everything looks so natural. And it's not abnormal for a small forward to not like look like a finished product, dropping 20 in a game, especially in the EuroLeague at 18, 17. Right, you got to kind of go from the flashes and how smooth it looks and what does it look like and how does he play? And that's kind of how we all agreed on Zachary Scher being this top 5 pick, because if you watch one game, you might not see him do a shot creation. It's over a combination of 5 or 6 games. You'll see it 7 to 8 times, right? And Paticum Dialet's in the same wavelength where he plays for European team, averages 6 a game. He doesn't get a ton of shot creation opportunities like normal college basketball players get. And because of those things, he's in a very similar vein to Richer, where it's like, man, the shot creation looks really smooth. It's hard to pass up on the idea frame of that not being some upside there. And that's the way I'm viewing Paticum Dialet right now. I'm absolutely amazed. The first game I ever watched him, he didn't even drive to the rim. He just stood in the 3-point at the 3-point line, did nothing else. I'm amazed at the growth here. And right now I actually have him graded as a 10 through 12 pick level talent. I'm not 100% certain what the comp is yet, but Paticum Dialet also, on top of all of these good shooting things that he does, right? Flashes that we saw this game and last game, has really great shooting splits especially for European high level basketball. 50% field goal percentage, 35% 3-point percentage. Those are really good shooting splits. I'm definitely impressed. I definitely feel like there's something here. After these 3 games, I could definitely see him being a 16, 15 point per game scorer off the wing and being really efficient so far throughout the games we've watched. And you better believe we'll continue to watch Paticum Dialet next week and the week after that and break him down, because this was really interesting. All right, so the next guy to break down from that game is Juan Nunez, 6'3" point guard from Germany as well, from the same Ulm basketball team. He's averaging 9.6 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 4.7 assists, 45% field goal percentage, 28% 3-point percentage, 1.4 steals, no blocks. He's still a below average athlete. That definitely leaves questions about his ability to defend in the NBA, quickness-wise, staying on ball, things of that nature. There's still not a lot of shot creation there. He can drive to the rim pretty decently. If it's the driving lane's open, he can get there in the pick and roll. He still is an absolutely amazing passer. Ricky Rubio level guy passing wise. He's amazing. Extremely fun to watch. His control of the basketball, the way he controls his teams, things of that nature, it's just so elite. I still have him graded as a 45 through 50 pick level talent. We won't be watching him next week when we watch Paticum Dialet. It would just be Paticum Dialet because I don't feel like I need to watch him anymore. Really interesting guy, but yeah, 45 through 50 pick level talent is definitely what Juan Nunez is. All right, so the next game to break down is that Pepperdine game where Michael Ajayi is playing 6'7" small forward with a 7-foot wingspan. He's averaging 17.2 points per game, 9.9 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 46% field goal percentage, 47% 3-point percentage, 0.9 steals, 0.5 blocks. The crazy thing is he's a junior, but like you look at his stats and you're like, junior? Like, you don't see sophomore, freshman year stats. It's crazy. He's like, he came from like a D2 or an NIIA or like one of those schools that people go to when they have like D1 talent, but they can't make D1. You went one of those schools for 2 years, so like he just came out of nowhere. It's crazy because you watch him like the first 3 seconds, you're like, man, this guy's a good athlete. How did he ended up in Pepperdine? And it's just funny. It's a really unique story that he probably has. Yeah, he only has 1 more year of eligibility after this if he does decide to come back from college. So basically, he's averaging 17.2 points per game, And he's a good athlete with a really good body frame. It really translates to him being a very good on-ball defender. He flashes some mid-range, nice mid-range, shot creation, some pull-up mid-range shots off the dribble. So basic stuff that he has shown. He's shown some flashes of driving to the rim. He does average 17 a game, so he does score for Pepperdine, but a lot of it is really reliant on his back being turned on the defender and these really odd moves coming out of it. I think he's a little too reliant with his back to the defender. Definitely is leaning to me thinking he's not as comfortable with his handle, but and so it's a bad habit that he's going to definitely have to break throughout time. But, the really huge thing is, he's got a capable handle in the open court sense, but, 47% 3-point percentage is absurdly high. So, there's definitely a thought process there of him being a 3-and-D player. His scoring that he has at Pepperdine might not translate, but the 47% 3-point percentage is absolutely huge. And on top of that, he's a good athlete with a great body frame, really strong, defensively well on ball, switchable, going to guard multiple positions, probably guard 1 through 4. So, it definitely makes a lot of sense for him to have NBA hype. His body frame matches that 7-foot wingspan. So, I definitely feel like he's a 35 through 40 pick level talent. We will watch another game of Michael Ajayi. Really interesting guy. He's a pleasant surprise. So the next game to break down is Iowa versus Illinois. So basically the guy that I'm watching from that game, Iowa's Peyton Sanford. Peyton Sanford at the combine measured in at 6'8" with a 6'8" wingspan. He averaged 16.4 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 44% field goal percentage, 37% 3-point percentage, 0.7 steals, 0.4 blocks. So this guy moved off ball really well, has a really good 3-point shot. He's obviously a good standstill 3-point shooter. Didn't really see a lot of flashes of him attacking closeouts and him really doing that well. There's been a lot of recently these kind of guys that are 6'7", 6'8" have been getting drafted pretty high lately. Me personally, I've never really seen it, and we'll mention is he's a below average athlete for the NBA and a below average defender because he's a below average athlete. I do have him graded as a 50 through 55 pick level talent. I do think that we'll have to watch him another game, but I do, a lot of teams use these off-ball movers and actions and things of that nature. So it's not like he doesn't have a very obvious role in the NBA if he finds the right fit. But I definitely personally think that, due to his defensive weaknesses, I can't really see him being anything more than a possible backup in the NBA, but I'm not really super high on him due to the question marks defensively that he may not even be able to be a backup in the NBA because of the question marks defensively. All right, so the last game to break down is going to be Grand Canyon's Tyon Grant Foster. So he's 6'7" with a 6'11" wingspan. This is NBA Combine official stats. Is a shooting guard from Grand Canyon, averaging 20 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 44% field goal percentage, 33% 3-point percentage. So this is the third time we've watched him break them down. He's still a very good athlete, attacks the rim extremely well. It's his most elite trait offensively. He really changes paces and changes speeds really well to attack the rim as well. Can kind of hesitate the defenders. He really plays off his ability to attack the rim well, which is with his 3-point shot creation, which is really interesting. He has a really nice and smooth pull-up mid-range shot that is really tough for other teams to stop. It's really good lift on it, and he naturally fades away with it as well. It's a really tough, quick, good-looking shot. It looks really, really smooth, NBA ready. Defensively, he's still very good. He's very good on ball, got really great length. The guy's so long, and he defends really well. He has good athletic gifts, really translates to being a very good on-ball defender and good team defender, being able to switch 1 through 4. I still view him as somebody that has shades of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and his ability to change paces. 6'7", 6'6". Him and SGA have similar abilities to attack the rim very amazingly, and all the length that they have. He can't pass like that kind of guy. He's an average shooting guard passer, and SGA is a good point guard passer. In Grant Foster has flashes of the 3-point shot creation that SGA has, and a really really elite mid range shot creation that SGA has as well. So there's a lot of elite things that Grant Foster has, but he is 24, right? So that's a real genuine issue. Is where do you put him? Where do you draft him? Because it's 24 coming out of college, which is not his issue because he had heart surgery, 2 heart surgeries in college. So it's not his fault. It's just genuine, life issues, medical issues that he's had that has stunted him from being able to be, in the NBA. Probably would already be in the NBA. He went to Kansas his freshman year, so it's not like he came out of nowhere talent wise. He definitely has an NBA talent. So it's a real interesting question mark. Definitely, him and Terrence Shannon are definitely the biggest X factors in this draft class, they're just really interesting. But, I could definitely see Tyon Grant Foster making a really big impact in the NBA. I have him grazed at 8 through 10 pick level talent, but I have him 19 on the big board because it's just so hard to know the way that NBA teams and, how long he's going to have to be able to develop in the NBA and, how long can he really grow into his skills. And, it's just really, really an interesting question but I definitely see him as an NBA guy. It's just, how good can he be? Because, if he's able to reach his potential, even if it takes a few years, he could be the guy that we look 4 years from now and be like, man, how did nobody draft him higher? Right. And it's just a really interesting thing with the 24 thing. I don't think there's anybody that you can think of in history that's come out 24, 25 guys, so Tyon Grant Foster, really interesting guy. Have him ranked 8 through 10 pick level talent. He's 19th on the big board at this moment in time. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and intro what's going on next week. So a little buyers beware on next week's schedule is basically, so I'm recording this on the 27th of the month on Monday, Labor Day, and the podcast drops on Thursday, and today is the 27th, and the 29th is the last day for college players to basically pull their name out of the NBA draft and could basically go back to college. Some of them, if they don't pull their name out of the draft, if they don't get drafted, then they still can go back to college. But most people don't do that because if they get drafted to the 44th pick and they think maybe next year they get drafted a better pick. Most people that are fringe guys that think they can improve their stock by legitimately going back, go back. So usually there's about 10 of them that go back on the 29th. So there'll probably be 10 of these guys subtracted from this big board. And, even though I'll read off the list of ideally who we're going to watch next week, 3 of them could be gone because they could be all going back to college. So, it'll be really interesting to see who goes back and who cannot be scouted. But we'll go ahead and go over who is going to be scouted next week. So this is, in theory, who should be scouted next week. The first game is going to be Paticum Dilet versus Zachary Richer. I won't break down Zachary Richer in that game since we've broken him down so much, but I really want to see Paticum Dilet, who's flying up my draft board at the 8 through 10 draft pick range, to see what he looks like against a guy like Zachary Richer. The next game is going to be Darren Holmes, 6'10" center from Dayton. The next game is going to be Kentucky versus UNC. We're going to watch Harrison Ingram versus Antonio Reeves. The next game is going to be Minnesota watching Cam Christie. The last game is going to be Tyon Grant Foster from Grand Canyon. And that'll be the last 5 games to be scouting next week. So yeah, it's basically the end of the podcast. Really appreciate anybody that listens to the podcast, anybody who shares the podcast, anything along those lines. Happy Memorial Day, and everybody have a great rest of your week. Peace out.